Got to remind myself it's Los Angeles, not San Diego anymore. Eric Williams covers the Chargers for ESPN.com. Kind enough to join us for a couple moments. How you doing, Eric?
I'm doing good, Rich. How are you?
I'm doing well. Do you have to keep reminding yourself that it's Los Angeles, even though I've messed up about 5 times already in the past 3 days?
Well, it's been since January.
I know,
so
but you're used to it, right? Exactly.
Yes.
I'm
on a daily basis.
I am curious. Before we get into the game itself, what has Los Angeles been as open that we thought they were going to be, or what is the buzz surrounding this team in Los Angeles? I mean, I get it with the stadium and everything, but is there still a lot of buzz with this team?
Well, no, and I don't think there ever was that opinion from the Chargers going into it. I think that's why they kind of created the slogan "Battle for LA" because they knew they were going to have to go in there, and it was going to be a long-term fight to try to win over fans. And really, it's been a worst-case scenario when you think about your team going 0-3. There's been games where they've been close, really in every game, and had a chance to win. But like this team has done over the last couple of years, late game situations, they just have had a lot of bad luck and not been able to execute. So they're in a 27,000 seat stadium. In both of the games, there's been a lot of fans from opposing teams, so it really hasn't been a home field advantage. I think the one saving grace is they have 13 games. They're in a unique stadium, so if you do go to the game, I mean, you're close, and that's just kind of different from being in these behemoths of NFL stadiums where you're sitting in the bleachers and you need binoculars to see what's happening on the field. That's not the case in StubHub. Philadelphia fans that go to this game are going to be right on top of the field, and I think it's really one of the best fan experiences in the game, just in terms of purely watching the game on the field.
Yeah, and the Eagles fans, they travel. Well, you mentioned those late game losses. I mean, this team really, you can argue 2-1, but you go back to last year: Kansas City, Indianapolis, New Orleans, Oakland, the Miami game. All these games were close. I mean, is that a product of just?
You could go on and on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right, but at the end of the day, right? I mean, then heads roll, do they not? But is it more of the talent, the execution, the coaching, or just snake bitten?
It's all of the above. But I think bottom line is it's players. The guy that touches the ball the most is the quarterback, correct?
Yep.
It's on Phillip. I mean, he's got to make some plays there at the end in order for these guys to get over the top. Along with Phillip, other guys kind of have to step up in those critical moments where it's a do-or-die situation and make a play so these guys can get some confidence that they know they can win in those situations. And that's really what it's about. It's about confidence, belief that at the end of the game, you're going to make the plays you need to make in order for the game to go in your favor. And that hasn't happened over the last couple of years. Phillip Rivers is at the top of the list there because, again, he's the guy that has the most control of the game for the Chargers, and he has to play better in those situations.
Hey, listen, you know this, and I know this. Franchises never come out when they have a franchise quarterback who's been around for 10, 13, 14, 15 years. Even though we've seen some head coaches of late kind of call him out, but is there this unspoken sentiment? Do they believe he's on the decline? I mean, I'm not talking stats-wise, right? Because last year, 33 and 21, 33 touchdowns, 21 interceptions. But, sometimes listen, they had the same conversation in New York with Eli Manning.
Yep. I think it's hard to move away from guys like that because who are you going to put there? I mean, it's not like you got unless you can draft Sam Darnold, you don't have another guy that's going to give you the type of playmaking ability that Phillip gives you on a week-in and week-out basis, both in terms of at the line of scrimmage, getting you in the right play and being able to make NFL throws in order so that you can win games. So, yeah, he's on the decline, obviously. Just like you said, you just purely look at the stats and see that. But, again, you have to have an eventual replacement. So I think franchises like the Giants, like the Steelers, like the Chargers, like the Saints are going to continue to ride these guys until the tread wears off because they're so hard to find. And I think Phillip still can play. Don't get me wrong. I think he can still win games for you. The problem with Phillip is picks. I mean, he's thrown so many picks over the last 2-3 years. It doesn't give your team a chance to win. I covered the Seahawks before I came down here and covered the Chargers. And when Pete Carroll took over, he still had Matt Hasselbeck. And the first thing he told Matt was like, hey, you got to stop throwing the ball the other team because you're not giving us a chance to win. And Matt eventually figured it out. It's like, oh, okay, if I don't throw picks, We might not win the game, but I won't lose.
That's right.
For it.
That's right.
We'll always have a chance in the end to win the game. And that's what Philip has to figure out. I mean, he threw like 3 picks in the first quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have a chance.
Yeah.
So that's what he needs to he has to embrace it. He's getting there. Slowly and surely he's figuring it out. But if he doesn't throw picks, this defense is pretty good. And you're going to be in the game in the fourth quarter if you don't turn it over.
And that's what I wanted to ask you. When you look at Ingram, when you look at Bosa, the Eagles were able to run against the Giants' strength. They were able to run the football at will, 193, close to 200 yards on Sunday. Yeah. Doug Peterson was extremely creative when he had to be with his play calling. And you know this, how do you mask that? How do you take away that pass rush? You can run the football. Do you believe that the Eagles will try to run the football to keep that pressure off of Carson Wentz with some of those pass rushers?
Yeah, if they're smart, they're going to do it. I think the Chargers are third worst in the league in terms of rushing yards that they're giving up. I think they're giving up 4.8 per carry. So, yeah, that's one of the ways that you can effectively limit a pass rush is to run it at them and make those guys tackle football kick carriers. And I also think with Wentz, because of his mobility, that adds another layer to that in terms of maybe doing some zone read stuff or rolling him out, moving him. I know that in the first game against the Broncos, the Chargers had some struggles in corralling Simeon, who was more mobile than I think they expected, and so he was able to get out in the pocket and make some plays. So that's definitely something that Philadelphia could use in their favor.
That's a great point. And the Giants couldn't tackle, and they couldn't wrap up. A couple minutes with Eric Williams covers the Chargers for ESPN, ESPN.com. A couple quickies before I let you get out of here. You talk about the defensive side of the ball. Listen, you still got Gates. Rivers can still sling it. You got Keenan Allen. How is the health on Gordon? Should he should be okay come Sunday?
Yeah, I think Melvin should be good to go. The knee issue that he's dealing with is actually from the microfracture surgery they had a couple of years ago, so it's been bothering him a little bit. So I think they're just being extra cautious. He didn't practice yesterday. He might not practice today, but he doesn't need to practice in order to be ready on game day. And he was playing pretty well up to the point where he knocked his knee and didn't play for the majority of the second half. I think he had 78 yards in the first half. They were gashing him. And he's an important part of this offense because he adds balance, and Anthony wants to run the football. With Gordon not in, Brandon Aller's a backup.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon's a good back, but he's not Melvin Gordon, so the offense is different. I do think Gordon will play, and I do think they're going to try to run the football against the Eagles.
It's funny because I think when you get to week 3, week 4, we kind of saw sloppy football early on. That's expected. I think teams are starting to clean it up, and you kind of see where teams are going to be at. I mean, look, the bottom line is the Chargers have to win this game. I can care less if it's out of conference. You can't go 0-4 to start a season. You can't win a division in September, October, but you can certainly lose it. Are they treating this game as this got to be a must game? Look, they're not going to say it, cliches, but It's got to be.
It's a very important one. I hate to say must win in week 4 because you still have 12 games left. And you're right, it's not a divisional game or a conference game, so it's not as important as if you're playing a divisional or conference opponent. That said, yeah, they need to get a win here. They want to get on a streak of wins. You can't get on a streak
exactly without one.
That first game, you got to win one.
Right.
So yeah, and then with the way things are going, 0-3, LA, the perception nationally, is that they're failing in this market. So I think just to kind of give a boost for the franchise, Sunday will be important to get a win against a team that they probably should beat at home.
I'll say this in closing, too. It's amazing. You always forget about special teams, right? Los Angeles kicker misses 2 early on, and then you look what happens on Sunday for the Giants against the Eagles with Elliott and a 61-yarder. I mean, They're looking, instead of 1-2, 2-1, feeling pretty good about themselves, and then the Chargers perhaps kicking themselves because they know they had 2 games early on where all of us – listen, 2-1 – it's a hell of a lot different than 0-3. As you said, you have to get that first one. And 0-1, 0-2, 0-3, that can start to turn into 0-6 quickly.
Yeah, it definitely can start to snowball. They went with an undrafted rookie, Younghoe Koo, at kicker instead of Josh Lambo, who was the incumbent, who they actually had brought in a couple of years ago, replaced Nick Novak with Lambo. And, he struggled. I think he's 2 of 5 now. He made a field goal, short chip shot, 29-yarder last week, but missed the 44-yarder wide right, had missed a kick earlier that game, and then got a field goal blocked in the opener against Denver. I think he probably would have made if the blocking was what it should be. So there's a confidence issue, obviously, with the kicker, and, nobody likes kickers, but they are very important to whether you win or lose a game, so you better have a guy that's confident that you believe in and we'll see if he can kind of turn things around during the rest of the season, or really the next couple of weeks.
Yep.
Because I think if he misses another kick or two, maybe you're talking about replacing.
Wow, you got to treat it like you're a relief pitcher as well. You got to forget about the last one. Eric, great stuff, pal. Appreciate you making time to jump on board. Enjoy the game on Sunday. We'll talk along the way.
Sure, no problem. Thanks for having me.
You got it. Take care of yourself. I mean, the kicker in Philly doesn't really have to worry about that right now.